The 2026 NBA draft could be loaded with point guards, and we'll tell you the top names to know heading into the season. Coming up next.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings. My name is Tyler Metcalf, draft analyst for the last 10 years. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow draft analyst for the last decade, Tyler Rucker. How we doing?
Metcalf, we're doing great. How are you doing, kind sir?
Fantastic. Football's back. Michigan has a quarterback again, but we're not here to talk about him. We got plenty on the table for today. We got a whole bunch of point guard names who could emerge as some of the best in the country, some of the top returning point guards that fans either are going to recognize or need to get familiar with. But everyone loves the shiny, flashy new thing. So we have to start with the top incoming freshman point guards. Mikel Brown, Darius Acuff, and Cayden I think are the three names to really hit the ground running with, get ourselves familiar with, and get to know right off the bat here. Mikel Brown, I believe he's listed 6'5", headed to Louisville. Darius Acuff headed to Arkansas. Cayden obviously going to Duke. With those three, what tickles your fancy? Where do you want to start with them?
I have to start with Mikel Brown. I feel like it's the darling already of the draft space. When we're talking to the scouting world, it seems like everyone was expecting this class to be the top three of, AJ Debonsa, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, and then all of a sudden now it's, hey, Mikel Brown's had a heck of an offseason with FIBA and some rumblings about a little bit of a growth spurt, but Metcalf, I'm excited because I think this class could be shaping up to be a little bit of a top four. Like we have a lot of hype with those top three, but now it's like Mikel Brown's throwing his hat into the ring. It might not be getting into the top three for sure, but he's at least making this a little bit of a heavy hitter class now.
Yeah, and that picture that came out with him next to Donovan Mitchell the other week was encouraging. It's like, oh, okay, so the poofy hair isn't really factoring into this inflated measurement or potentially inflated measurement. Not that schools would ever do that, but when we saw him at Hoop Summit, he was one of the standouts because he played so effectively, so creatively, so under control. And what continues to stand out as I dive back through all of the high school stuff, we saw him in FIBA over the summer. And even when the shot's not falling, he's still finding ways to impact winning and still finding ways to impact the game, whether it's rebounding, playing defense, playmaking, getting to the rim, drawing fouls. Like in some of those FIBA games, it was he either couldn't buy a shot or couldn't miss. But he almost always ended up with a similar stat line of getting up around 15 to 20 points because of how aggressive he was getting downhill when the shot wasn't falling. I'm fascinated to see what the shot looks like from outside. It's a little streaky, little inconsistent. I think a lot of that is a strength thing, but the fact that it doesn't bother him at all on off nights is wildly encouraging and pretty rare for a guy his age.
Yeah, I think it's always important too. Is we love to see these guys have success on the FIBA level. I think what the biggest thing, and we always take with a grain of salt because it's like, hey, now you got to carry that momentum into the the NCAA regular season. I think the biggest thing with Mikel was seeing the jump in like the development and the ability from when we saw him at Nike Hoop Summit. Like then at FIBA, he looked like another type of beast, and we're hoping that carries over to Louisville. That's a big test because, hey, now you're going to be playing big boy basketball. And is the lack of strength or his weight going to come into picture? We're going to find out a lot pretty quick. But I think Mikel's now firmly on the radar of NBA scouts that you talk to around the league, and he's buzzing. This is a name now that's buzzing. Like, hey, is there a wild world where he could get up into that top three, even with those unbelievable prospects? That's how highly regarded he has been lately, and what an impressive offseason he's had.
Yeah, and I think him factoring into that Louisville backcourt with Conwell and Woolley, and Isaac McNeely transferring in, and I think they're going to have a lot of talent back there. But I think he's kind of gotten to the point where it's like, oh, this is the dude. Do you have any concerns with him going forward,
No, I think
or is it just
I'm in
more
that.
intrigue?
Yeah, it's more intrigue. I think my only concerns were kind of when we saw him in person, it was the frame to me. I thought he was really skinny. Then seeing him at FIBA, now I'm watching from the couch because obviously the game's overseas. We're not there yet, folks. We're close, but we're not there. I thought he looked a little bit taller, and then now we're getting a little bit of rumblings of like, hey, he might be at that closer to 6'5" than 6'2" that we were, thinking at Hoop Summit. I thought he was around 6'3" then, but it's like, okay, if he's grown a little bit and he's starting to mature, I think I'm just trying to figure out if the frame can withstand this jump in competition level that he's going to have with going to college basketball. But he's also so dangerous from outside now. It's like, I think he's going to be able to figure it out pretty easily. And if you're getting a multi-level scorer at around 6'5" for a primary ball handler, you're getting a very dangerous player. So I think it's more intrigue for me.
Yeah, and like with some like legitimate bounce too. When he gets downhill to the rim, blocking guys in transition, he'll get out for like chase down blocks in transition. It's like, where did that come from? Darius Acuff, Arkansas has him listed at 6'3", 190 pounds. Going to be sharing backcourt time with DJ Wagner, Malik Thomas, Billy Richmond, Carter Knox. They have a really interesting backcourt going on there this year. When we look at his IMG numbers, 74th percentile in points per possession as pick and roll ball handler, 74th percentile in transition, 80th percentile in isolation, and then some really encouraging playmaking stuff with him too, where turnover rate of just 11.6 and an assist to turnover ratio of 1.74. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the true point guard duties get separated on that team. But Acuff, I think, has a really strong possibility to emerge as one of the lead ball handlers, whether it's with the starting unit or at very least the second unit. I would imagine the ball's in his hands a lot.
I think that's what we're just trying to figure out, especially myself. I'm trying to figure out how quickly is this going to, come together. With Darius Acuff, it's, hey, look, we've seen these talented prospects going to Calipari, going to Arkansas, going to Kentucky before that. How quickly can you find your groove? Because he's got a talented roster. You just mentioned DJ Wagner, a couple of other names, Billy Richmond. I know we're very high on, a lot of guys like that. I think with Acuff, it's just one of those like, hey, another big time recruit in the backcourt. How can it work? How can it figure it out? What's the rotation going to look like early on? And then eventually, is it going to be a little bit of a passing to the torch to the younger guys, or are the older guys going to step up and kind of withstand everything? Because we know Calipari will play the guys that are helping the team and making them right. So Acuff's talented, man. I just want to kind of see how the game starts off for him to start the year and how it progresses, how quickly it maybe takes those jumps. I think he's got a lot of tools. One of the top guard recruits in this class as a freshman, coming into this year. So I have a lot of intrigue, a lot of questions. What about yourself, Metcalf?
And their game later in the year where they played Columbus, the team that the Boozer twins played for, and he went off. He looked incredible, and you saw that blend of physicality with playmaking and the ability to get paint touches and collapse the defense. And that was one of the unfortunately rare games where a shot was falling, and you could see all the pieces coming together, and it's like, oh, that's a really fun picture. I like this puzzle a lot when everything is coming together. But then you look at the season long numbers, and it's like 31.9% from three overall, 27.5 on 80 pull-up attempts from three overall, but then weirdly 41.7% shooting off the catch, but only like 36 attempts. So incredibly low volume there. And if that catch and shoot number is legitimate, that makes his malleability a little more realistic, especially with guys on that team who also can run the show. And, DJ Wagner's going to get a lot of reps as the elder statesman there. But for me, it's the big question is the shot and the decision-making that comes with all of that, because I didn't think decision-making or anything was bad at Hoop Summit, but there were flashes of him being able to or defenders kind of being able to bait him into some questionable decision making with that kind of stuff, and baiting him into settling for jumpers when that's not his game yet. So I'm really excited and intrigued to see how that develops.
Yeah, I think for me with Acuff, I completely agree with you. I think it's a consistency thing for me. We saw him kind of get baited into some of those. A lot of those, events with like Hoop Summit, McDonald's All American Game. It's like, hey, those could be wake up calls of like, all right, this is when the talent rises and things, are a little bit quicker than I'm expecting. So with Acuff, I think it's one of those. How quickly is he going to adjust? The consistency, not just only with the shot, but the playmaking. Can he take care of the ball? Can the rest of the game kind of slowly develop and come together? Because when everything's rolling, like you said, there's some really impressive flashes where you're like, hey, I could see a very fun path here of like mega talented guard with toughness. But it's just how quickly can everything come together and we stay more on the positive side with that consistency instead of sprinkling in, the gamble plays, if you want to put it that way. But I think there's a lot of talent here, and he's one that people are going to keep an eye on pretty quick to be like, is this a one and done candidate, or are we maybe looking at like a sophomore leap guy? And I think for right now, we're going to wait and see.
And I think someone who falls into that same bucket is Cayden Boozer, twin brother to Cam, also headed to Duke. Another guy who I love how he plays. His IQ and floor mapping and recognition and decision making is so good, and I love the playmaking. I love the physicality. I don't think I buy the shot at all, though, and I do worry about how passive he gets as a scorer. But as a playmaker, as a true point, true classical point guard, I adore the way he plays. I think he's going to have that Duke offense running at a really high level, and off-ball scorers and play finishers like Isaiah Evans, Darren Harris, Cam Boozer, Dame Sar. Like I think these guys are going to be set up a lot and put in really good positions to succeed. But if he's not shooting at all, the scoring isn't really there at all, I do question how feasible one and done is for him.
That was going to be my $1 million question, because you did an in-depth breakdown at our site at NoCeilingsNBA.com and talking about Cayden Boozer. So I was going to ask you, would it be really shocking to see him as a one and done?
I mean,
do you have a pro comp for him, Metcalf? Like, I feel like people lean on Brogdon right away, and I'm like, that's a really lofty one.
Brogdon was an awesome shooter.
He was so good.
My favorite right now is TJ McConnell. And
that's a good one. Yeah.
I love TJ, and TJ's found a way to have an awesome career and carve out an awesome role despite not being a prolific outside shooter or a prolific scorer, despite some of those playoff performances. But smart defender, feisty defender, physical, really intelligent playmaker, good decision maker. And I see a lot of those similarities in Cayden, who's also his 6'4", 6'5". So great size, great physicality already, but funky shot mechanics, not a whole lot of confidence, doesn't really look for his own bucket. That's one that's the one I've been going to a lot. Him and Trey Jones, but that style of point guard.
I love the McConnell. Whenever someone starts with TJ McConnell, I'm like, thank you. You've gotten realistic with the pro comp right out of the gate. And it's no disrespect to TJ. I'm an Arizona Wildcats guy. I love TJ McConnell, but it's just fun when people are like, right away, let's start realistic instead of just being like, well, Steve Nash. And I'm like, okay, all right, we're off to a good start. Yeah, I think Cayden's going to be an interesting one this whole year. Another guy that we're waiting to see how quickly is it. And for me personally, I watch him and I'm like, this is going to be a guy that's probably going to spend a couple of years at Duke, and we'll wait and see because those guys always have different motives. But I just watch his game and I'm like, he's solid. I don't know if this is enough right out of the gate to get me into that, hey, maybe a top 20 pick. I'm going to be wait and see mode with Cayden because I think there's good size, there's good feel, there's good anticipation. The shot, I think, is going to be a much bigger work in progress than some might expect. But I think Duke needs him to just set the table this year as a young freshman with size. So wait and see. And maybe that's a guy that the second half of the regular season is really starting to find his groove, and he carries that into March Madness. Then we get that bump of buzz. So we'll wait and see.
Well, coming up, new isn't always better. We'll tell you who some of the top returning point guards are to watch as we head into the season. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, and you don't have the full picture. You can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Are you worried that you're not saving as much as you thought? Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. All right, Rucker. Returners, but real quick, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about your advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. When we look at the returners, there are a lot of names that are going to be tough to break down and to dissect. But for me, the three that get me the most excited that I think are at the very top: Bennett Stirtz, the Drake transfer going to Iowa; Labaron Philon, sophomore point guard at Alabama; and Tahad Pettiford, sophomore point guard at Auburn. Where do you want to start?
Can we start with Stirtz? I've been waiting all offseason to talk about Bennett Stirtz. I think this is the biggest returning wild card of this upcoming class, Metcalf. Bennett Stirtz, who played at Drake, was kind of the college basketball darling heading into March Madness. Everyone was really getting excited to see what he could do after this impressive year at Drake. Like, hey, can this deliver? Can he be a guy that's going to be on all the one shining moment, segments and everything? And Stirtz can play. If you watch his game, there's a dangerous playmaking wizard who can pull up from 8 feet beyond the arc if you need him to. And he's really crafty. Gonna give a lot of people some Steph Curry vibes, and that's just how it goes. But he's legit. And I think everyone was excited to hear, especially in the scouting world, I think people were excited to hear that he's going to transfer up. He's going to Iowa this year. Going to be really exciting to watch how he looks early on, because, man, if he hits the ground running, Metcalf, for the Hawkeyes, I think this is going to get interesting in a hurry when it comes to Bennett Stirtz. I think his draft stock will be sizzling to start the year.
Yeah, and at Drake last year, Stirtz is listed at 6'4", but he played 98.8% of the available minutes there for him. So just one of those guys that never comes off the floor. BPM of 10, usage of 26.1, true shooting percentage of 60.4, assist rate of 34, and turnover rate of just 13.1. So he had the ball in his hands all the time, was creating over a third of the available assists and never turning the ball over. Real testament to his floor vision, his passing accuracy, his decision making. And then, steal rate of 3.3 and a casual 39.6% from three on good volume. The counter is always going to be, well, it was Missouri Valley Conference. It was at Drake. But then we saw him do it in the tournament against tournament teams. I think it's real. I buy it. Are those numbers bound to come down go up against Big Ten competition every single day? Probably, but I don't think they're going to plummet to a point where it's like, oh, what a fraud. I think the size is too good. I think the vision's too good, and the handle, the creativity, the scoring versatility. I think it's all very real, and I'm excited to see him prove it.
I think I'm right there with you. I think it's all real. You watch his tape. It's not just the highlights, folks. Now, remember this. It is not just the highlights. It's the film that you grind on his film, and you see someone that, one, has the ball in his hands a lot. Two, he makes plays to get people open a lot. And 3, he takes care of the ball. Like that's the biggest thing. He knows how to score, create gravity, take care of the basketball, and not force too much. Like he's a much better shooter than that number will suggest. That's just because of the volume size. And he's a 3-level scorer, can get downhill, can play physical. I think this is a big get, and I think he's going to carry Iowa. I think this Iowa team could make some noise this year because of Stirtz, because of what they've got coming in. It's going to be really fun to see what he can do. But I think if he comes out of the gate aggressive, we're going to get buzzing in the draft space. He's going to be a fun name that people are circling already. I talked to scouts around the league. They're already like, oh yeah, we're very excited to watch Stirtz this year. And it's like, you can see why when you watch the tape.
I'm also very excited to see what year 2 of Labaron Philon looks like in
Yes.
Alabama, listed at 6'4", 177. Probably, I hope, going to get a little bit more leash to run the show. Obviously, Mark Sears was there last year. And they have, again, another really fun backcourt with Jaleel Bethia transferring in. It's one I always forget about, but love that fit for both of them. Aiden Holloway there, obviously, as a junior. But the big question with Philon is, what does the shot look like? Because last year the playmaking was really good. Assist rate of 24.9, turnover rate of just 17.2, steal rate of 2.9. We saw the size, the ability to get downhill, to get to his spots, play really physical on both ends of the floor, but then just 31.5% from 3 on good volume. So what does the shot look like? It was kind of surprising when he withdrew from the draft. I think it was the right decision. I think he's one of these guys that really knows how to play and affect winning on both ends. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, he still has to shoot it.
I think it was one of the biggest surprises I've remembered in recent memory when it came to the deadline of withdrawing. He withdrew with like 2 minutes to go. It was right at the clock, at the shot clock, Metcalf. So I think Philon was a name that everyone was expecting to be a first-round pick this past year in the 25 draft. Now he's going back to Bama. Man, it could really skyrocket in a hurry if things come into place. You mentioned the shot. We say it with so many prospects. Hey, it comes down to the shot. It comes down to the shot. It's true. It's especially true with Philon. If the shot can be consistent, he has all of the tools. He's a little thin at like 175-ish, like you were saying. But at 6'4", he's twitchy. He's smooth. He's slithery through traffic, and he's really crafty. So the shot is the swing skill this year, if you want to put it that way, for Labaron Philon. And I think if he can have that respectably, around that 35 to 40%, man, we're talking about a guy that's probably going in the top 10. I really do think that way. He's got that much talent. So I'm very excited. I talked about Stirtz, or we talked about Stirtz previously, excuse me, Metcalf. And I think Philon's right up there. I'm just as excited to watch him.
And similarly, Tahad Pettiford at Auburn, year 2. And his numbers last year were awesome. He looked fantastic, especially down the stretch that last month or so of the season. Ended up with, just 36.6% from 3, but on an absurd 12.7 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. That's really high volume. Exactly what you want to see. Some really solid playmaking numbers with him too. Assist rate of 23, turnover rate of just 16.4, usage of 25.1, but he only played 57% of the available minutes out there. He is small, listed at 6'1", might be generous. But the creativity, the skill, the flash, the flair, the confidence, everywhere he is on the court is infectious. And I cannot wait to see what he looks like running the show, where there's no Janai Broom. There's no Chad Baker-Mazara. There's no Denver Jones. It's going to be his show to run. Now, Auburn obviously had other transfers and stuff come in, and they're going to be good again, but I don't think Pettiford's going to get relegated in terms of decision-making and creation responsibilities like he was last year, understandably so, but this is an awesome opportunity for him to really shine and be like, hey, the numbers that I showed in limited opportunity last year, I was just scratching the surface. Here we go.
Gigantic year for him. I'm right there with you. I think Pettiford was one of those players that you watched last year. The more you watch, you're like, oh man, this kid has all the tools to be a serious weapon here. I think he tested the waters. We thought that he was going to maybe go back. We thought he could have been a surprise guy that snuck in and kept his name into last year's draft class. Now another year with going to Auburn, it's like, hey, you got to really showcase your skills on full display this year. to convince NBA teams that, hey, despite being a little undersized, I can play. I can be a impact at the next level. Because yes, we obsess about, hey, this is a smaller guard, but at the end of the day, we always get to a point where it's like Tahad Pettiford could play. There's no doubt about that. He can absolutely play. An NBA team will take a chance on it because he knows how to play the game of basketball. I just want to see how it looks this year at Auburn. And can he take that next step with the efficiency following him with the, uptick in minutes? So I think if he can prove that and the playmaking's there, he shows how he can run a team, which we saw that last year, even with less minutes. I think this year is a big year for Todd Pettiford, and maybe this is where he cements himself as a potential first-round guy that cements himself in that top 20 range. It'll be fun to see because I think he's going to come out blazing and really try to send a statement early on.
All right. Well, next up, we have so many more names of guys who could not only emerge in these groupings as some of the top point guards in the country and the 2026 draft, but potentially overtake them. Coming up right after this. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Rucker, we're just going to rapid fire elevator pitch style this this last segment here. So, first name I got up is I think he's still kind of a point guard. Maybe not, maybe combo guard, maybe a wing. I don't know. He's fun. Dame Sarr headed to Duke. I think the dream is that he's a point guard one day. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe I'm cheating here, but he was at Barcelona last year. Hoop Summit this summer. Bet on himself. Really fun story. Won't get into it now. But bet on himself by going to Hoop Summit. A lot of physical tools. If the shot continues to improve, like we saw it incrementally improving, and saw the work he was putting in at Hoop Summit, I think he could be a huge riser.
Dame's a good one. Even if you're cheating a little bit, Metcalf, I'm gonna give you the slide here and say that's a good one. I'm thrilled to kind of see what Sarr does at Duke this year. I think he's gonna be a popular name that's mentioned as a lottery guy, and want to see how quickly it hits the ground. He's going to the right place. He's gonna get a lot of exposure, and he's gonna have a lot of support around him. So be fun to see. I'm gonna go with a returner, a guy that's gonna be playing in a new location that me and you were very excited about last year. I feel like I haven't given up hope. I'm going with Boogie Flan, going to Florida this year. Boogie Nights is back. I think this is going to be a big year for Boogie. I think him going to Florida was a fantastic decision. It's going to be a very tough Florida Gators team. That team is stacked. And now you get someone like Boogie Flan who can, one, run the show, showcase he could be a tone setter with this talent around him. Going to have some fantastic, pick and roll opportunities with those bigs at that Florida Gators team. It's going to be fun to see. I think defensively, too, Boogie has the chance to really showcase some stuff with all the pieces he's going to have behind him. It's going to be a big year for Boogie Flan. I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, and he was someone who I loved how he played last year. Just the scoring and shooting numbers were abhorrent. So it can't be worse. Fingers crossed. Because if the results start to match his actual play and the process, huge riser. Similar to his teammate Xavier Lee, transfer from Princeton, flashy, creative, just a blast to watch, but he's doing it at Princeton. And that inherently, no matter how good the tape is, it just always leaves questions. So him transferring to Florida, I think Florida could maybe potentially even be better this year. That could be a whole other episode. But Xavier Lee, Boogie Flan, really fun backcourt for Florida. Who else you got?
I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'll probably get a little combo guard here, but Braden Burry's going to Arizona. I'm excited. Freshman. This is gonna be a fun Arizona Wildcats team, and I think Burry's could be one of these guys that sort of starts to intrigue a little bit as a dark horse that can make some noise even as a freshman. Hey, look, we saw last year Arizona, Ed Carter Bryant. People were like, why did you play this kid more? Why is he going to go to the lottery? All of a sudden, Carter Bryant starts to showcase how special he is towards the second half of the regular season. So you got to earn your minutes at Arizona with Tommy Lloyd, but I think Burries could be a name that, really makes some noise and kind of cements himself in that backcourt early on. So that's the name I'm keeping an eye on as well.
Christian Anderson, sophomore point guard at Texas Tech. Really fun freshman season. Incredible FIBA showing with Germany. And now Elijah Hawkins is gone. It's going to be his show to run with JT Toppin. I think Christian Anderson at Texas Tech has a really, really strong chance to skyrocket into the top 20. Good athlete, versatile scorer, but the playmaking continues to grow and improve so quickly that I think there's some awesome on-ball upside with him that we're going to see unlocked pretty quickly.
Anderson's a great one. I'm gonna give one final one just to a personal favorite of mine that I'm very excited for. I hope he gets some respect in the draft space. But Donovan Dent going to UCLA is one of my guys I absolutely love. I think he's just one of the best playmakers in the entire country. When you talk about players that really know how to have great feel. And Donovan Dent can light it up too. I'm wanting the undersized guards to get some respect this year, Metcalf. And I'm excited to see what Donovan Dent does at UCLA. He's been playing at New Mexico, right? I get New Mexico, New Mexico State, all of the times confused. But played at New Mexico, made some incredible performances, some really big years. Now he's going to UCLA. I think he'll get some more exposure, and people are going to find out really quickly of how good Donovan Dent is.
All right, last two names for me. Two fellow Big Ten point guards. One, Omer Mayer, freshman coming over from Europe. Again, looked really good at Hoop Summit, looked really good at FIBA, playing for Israel, headed to Purdue, going to be able to run that second unit behind Braden Smith, but also has the size and the versatility to play alongside him. I think he's going to be an awesome addition for them. And then a little bit of homerism here, but LJ Kaysen, sophomore for Michigan. The numbers are what they are. Super inconsistent as a freshman, but the flashes were a lot of fun. And I think if those continue to trend in the right way, I think he could be a big sophomore breakout in this class. But Rucker, there's a lot of info, a lot of names, always a blast. But thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I'm Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at TMetcalf11. He is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. We'll be going 5 days a week from here on out, Monday through Friday at a minimum. But us two will be back on Thursday, breaking down some of the top shooting guards that you have to know. Thank you for listening to Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings.